Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. Today is Take 5 with Steven Travers, our host, Steven. And usually during the off season, we've got a baseball theme, and we certainly do again today, Steven. We've got a guy that played professionally. He coached at the collegiate ranks, and now he's coaching professionally. Reggie Williams is our guest today, and I'm so glad that we were able to book him.
Well, I'm honored and thrilled to have Reggie on today, and our paths have crossed. Reggie was almost a teammate of mine, and Reggie was an opponent of mine, and Reggie was on the field during a baseball fight. So those are three interesting things that happened in his career and in my career, and we can talk about that. But Reggie, welcome to Take 5 with Steven Travers. We're honored to have you.
Well, thank you for having me on as a guest. It's an honor to be here, and look forward to speaking with you guys about the sport of baseball and whatever else you have on your mind.
Well, one of the things that really captured my curiosity is the co-host and founder, Vincent Turner. You and Vincent go way back, right? You guys were in first grade together. Did Vincent ever have any issues with not listening to the teacher and either talking too much or wanting to go outside and play baseball, football, basketball instead of studying his arithmetic and his history lessons?
You know, when I remember Vincent, you're talking first grade. Wow, that's over 6 decades ago almost. Vincent was a quiet guy. Very sports oriented, athletic, competitive, but not a troublemaker. He was a good kid from my memories about Vincent.
Well, Vincent is a Memphisonian, and I know I'm saying that incorrectly. You are as well. Talk about growing up, so many great stars of multiple sports. It's really a basketball town, but the amount of football players and now a baseball player that we have on the air, outside of the Blues, there's very few places on planet Earth that you can find good music, but good athletes, they abound all over the place. What was it like for you when you first started? Was it Little League Baseball? Was it Pop Warner football? Where did you kind of establish your roots in terms of wanting to be an athlete and realizing that you were good at it?
Well, I think as a youngster, you know, my father played baseball. And as a matter of fact, from my talking to my mom about him, he was about to be drafted by if I'm not mistaken, the Cincinnati Reds. Unfortunately, in an amateur game, he was sliding to third base and broke his ankle. And as a result, that draft opportunity did not come to fruition. But he also played softball for the grocery store that he worked for, Liberty Cash, which was a very popular store in South Memphis. Almost right outside of downtown Memphis, but he played softball, and I used to go and watch him play, my brother and I. And my dad was a really good softball player, very fast. I do remember him being very fast. And so I got a liking for the sport of baseball as a result of watching him play softball. And as a result of that, I guess I inherited his speed and his ability to, you know, play the game of baseball, hit, run, throw, and all of the other attributes of a baseball player. So I got that from my father. And then growing up, you know, back during that time in the 60s, so to say, the Oakland A's were very good. And I somehow or another got a liking for Reggie Jackson. And he became my idol. And as a result of following the A's, I latched on to the Oakland Raiders even after that. And so as you can see, I have my Raiders shirt on. I've been laboring with the Raiders. Hopefully something will come out of that in the next couple of years with Pete Carroll as the new head coach. But as far as playing baseball, I got it from my father.
Hey, is there anything less intimidating than seeing a fan with the eye black and the face thing and he's got spikes coming out of these shoulder pads, but the team loses by 25 points? It's not the same. The black hole isn't the same.
Yeah, it's not the same. As a matter of fact, last year my brother and I went to a Raiders game out in Las Vegas, and I actually have a picture of one of those monster-looking characters with all the Raider garb on, the gear on, and what have you. I do have a photo with that. But, you know, it's been tough being a Raiders fan, but I'm a diehard. I mean, I go way back to Kenny Stabler, the Immaculate Reception. I hate the Steelers.
Yes.
And, you know, just following all the, you know, Marv Hubbard, John Madden, what was it, Cliff Biletnikoff, I believe it is, or Cliff Davis, or one of the two.
You got to mix Fred Biletnikoff and Cliff Branch.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah. All those guys, Ted Hendricks, Jack Tatum, all those guys. So George Atkins, I believe it was, or Atkinson or something like that. Yep. So I go way back with the Raiders, and I've been with them since I was about 12 years old.
Well, you mentioned the A's, and you got Vida Blue, Ken Holtzman.
Oh, yeah.
Catfish Hunter. And
Bert Campaneris.
Well, wasn't it tough once they had won those 3 World Series and baseball was changing from a business perspective and free agency, and Kurt Flood, who we've wanted to honor for years, what he's done for baseball, the silent change that he was really scapegoated for. But you see your team, one guy at a time, just disperse from this champion that was young, they were fresh, they were energetic, they're winning the World Series with ease, to all of a sudden Vida was really the only one that was left after all the carnage had been taken through free agency. Yeah,
that's true. A lot of the guys ultimately left the Oakland A's, and since then, the organization has been kind of teetering on the margins of just mediocrity. Although I believe in the 80s or 90s, when they had Tony La Russa during the Mark McGwire Canseco years, they did win, I believe, 1, maybe 2 World Series.
Yeah, they were able to turn it around in what was called a small market. There's nothing small about it, but it's changed dramatically for the average fan to be able to go to a game. You're in the business now. Talk a little bit about, we don't have much time with you, but I want to make sure we go over where you are now. We do want to go into your past. We are going to talk about high school and your early collegiate days, but let everybody know right now what it is you're doing, and the Cincinnati Reds, your coaching relationship with them, and how that started.
Well, I was picked up by the Reds actually about 5 years ago. I think it was 2019 maybe, because let me see, this is 25, so about 20, maybe 21 or so. But I worked with the Cincinnati Reds previously before coming back here. I worked with them after being in the Milwaukee Brewers organization. I started out with the Brewers as a rover, as a base running and outfield roving coach. And then I became a coach, bench coach, I guess you could call it, down first in Helena, Montana, with the Helena Brewers. And then I was moved up to the Melbourne, should I say Brevard County Manatees down in Brevard County, Florida. I worked for them there. And then with a regime change, Doug Melvin and all crew, they changed general managers, and then I was let go there. And then I went back into baseball. I was picked up by the Cincinnati Reds, courtesy of Dan O'Brien, a very longtime baseball guy. I think he was a general manager for a couple of organizations. I believe his father was in baseball. But Dan O'Brien gave me a chance with the Reds, and I was there for 3 years. I started out actually in Greenville in the Appalachian League, where Johnson City is. I think Steve talked about that earlier. So I was there for a couple of years. Then I was moved to Daytona Beach with the Daytona Beach Tortugas, which is their low A team. I worked there for a couple of years. And then I was offered an opportunity to coach college baseball. I went to Alcorn State University as a head coach, and actually went there, and there was nothing there, literally. I mean, when I got there, there were 12 baseball players. I actually had to go on campus asking kids, because when they hired me, it was after the recruiting season. So I was not able to go out and recruit kids, literally go out and see them and so forth and so on. So I went around campus, believe it or not, asking kids, if you played baseball, come on out for the team. And I was able to, grab a few kids, and we ended up, I think, with 18 kids, 18 on a roster that could have had at least 35 kids. And it was a challenge. And, I was very challenged to, try to grow the program. And that was my ultimate desire, to not only grow the program and some young men, but develop a culture at Alcorn as it relates to not only winning, but a culture of learning how to play the game the right way, putting education at the forefront of your baseball career, because I know the essence of getting an education. And I actually was putting together a good foundation there. You know, I could hear it from umpires, other coaches from other teams in the SWAC conference. As a matter of fact, I had the youngest Division I baseball team in the country, the youngest. The average age on my team was 19 years old.
Wow.
And when we played against Ole Miss, I can remember very vividly bringing my roster to the home plate to exchange with the Ole Miss head coach. I can't call his name right offhand. Forgive me for that. Very great coach. He won the World Series a couple of years ago. And the umpire looked at my roster and said, "Okay, coach, where's the rest of your roster?" I said, "That is my roster. I had 18 guys. Ole Miss had 18 pitchers, let alone position players." So we competed against them. We did okay, but it was a learning process. And then for whatever reason, I have the faintest idea, Alcorn State in 2024 decided to part ways with me in spite of the trajectory of the program. It was going very well. Monies was coming in. The alumni was supportive. I was bringing in resources to upgrade the facilities, the resources there. And so I'm not quite sure what happened there, but it's a mystery to me that a college baseball team would get rid of a former Major League Baseball player, but yet the Cincinnati Reds wanted to have me back. And so now I'm with the Chattanooga Lookouts. We're in AA here in the Southern League. And frankly speaking, we are in a heated battle to try to win the first half. As of yesterday, we were in first place by half a game over Birmingham Barons. And we're in the driver's seat. So hopefully the players will understand we don't have to look back at them. They have to look up at us. And we've been playing pretty good. We're in right now Madison, Alabama, basically a suburb of Huntsville, Alabama, playing the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And so we're in the midst of a doubleheader today, single game tomorrow, another doubleheader on Saturday, and finish out the series and the first half on Sunday, I believe. Hopefully we can win out and secure a position in the playoffs in September if we can finish in first place.
Well, Steven was shaking his head. Steven, I know that means that you recognize all of these teams, the names, and everything that's a part of that. That's part of your own history and development as a player in the minors.
Well, the Chattanooga Lookouts are a historic minor league franchise.
They are.
They've been around as long as I can remember minor league baseball, as well as several of the other teams that you mentioned. Let me ask you this, Reggie. Do you know another scout with the Reds by the name of Greg Zanino?
I know the name. I have yet to meet him, but I have heard his name pop up in a couple of conversations with people in player development. I know the name, but I have not met him personally.
Okay. Well, if you do meet him, tell him that Steve Travers says hi. Greg was a guest on this program maybe two and a half months ago. Longtime scout. He's been with the Reds. He's been with the Marlins. He's been with the Yankees. He's been with several different teams. Let me get back to Southern University. Now, you said you did not play football. I just wanted to let you know that I saw Southern University play a football game in Reno, Nevada in 1979 or 80. And I know you had played football, so I'd wondered if maybe you had played on that team. But as you had indicated before the show, you had not. But our paths continued to cross. And in 1981, you were drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals, and you chose not to sign with the Cardinals. Had you signed, chances are very good that you and I would have become friends, because we would have become teammates at Johnson City, Tennessee, the Appalachian League, which is almost assuredly where the Cardinals would have sent you right after the draft in 1981. That's where I was pitching that particular season. And then I injured myself and then ended up with the Oakland organization in 82 and played at several places. a paths cross again. This time they really cross. Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. And Harper, holy cow, we're talking the Canadian prairies. I mean, I have an image in my mind of Lethbridge, and I see a gray expanse. I see like almost one of these photographs from the Dust Bowl. I mean, there were no mountains, there were no rises. It was as flat as it gets. I don't think even the U.S. prairies, the Midwest, is as flat as the prairies of Canada. And that's Lethbridge, Alberta. This was the Dodgers. I was with the Idaho Falls A's of the Pioneer League. And there were two teams that when you played, you just amped your game up a little bit. That was when you played the Yankees and also when you played the Dodgers. These were just two organizations that just somehow were a little bit more important. Reggie was playing at Lethbridge. I was playing at Idaho Falls. Jose Canseco was on that team. Mariano Duncan was a future shortstop for the Dodgers who was on that Lethbridge team. We had a pitcher, as I recall, I think he brushed Mariano back or hit him. Mariano didn't like it. He charged the mound. And next thing you know, you've got both teams in the middle of the field. Luckily, I did not throw any punches at Reggie, and he did not throw any punches at me. I don't recall that there were any punches, but I remember that event because, Reggie, I didn't play as long as you. So, I only had a couple of years in the minors. So these events stand out with me. And the other thing is, Reggie, I'm a writer. So everywhere I ever went, I always noticed things like, not necessarily like I'm going to write about it, but I always paid attention to the moment because I realized that I was living in interesting times. And that was an interesting moment. So tell me about, if you can recall this game against the A's, the incident with Mariano and everything else that happened at Lethbridge in 1982.
I remember some aspects of it, again, over the course of, 40 something years. Some of that has kind of slipped from my memory, but I do recall a brawl session or a semi-brawl against the Idaho Falls A's. They were kind of one of our nemesis teams. And I do remember Mariano. At that time, Mariano was a young Dominican shortstop out of San Pedro de Macorís, Dominican Republic. And Mariano was kind of a fiery little guy. He was very serious about his baseball. He took it very seriously. He was not a guy that messed around when it came to his baseball. And he could be at times temperamental. And I think there was a brushback pitch that I can't remember if it hit him or brushed him back, but he didn't like it. And I do recall him charging the mound. There were very few, if any, punches thrown, but I do remember that fracas at that time. And, I was the kind of guy, I would probably be standing on the outside looking in, trying to hold guys back. At that time, I was young, didn't want to get tossed, especially as a professional. I didn't want to have myself being fined because we weren't making that much money. So I didn't have the kind of money to pay a fine. But I do remember that situation. The Idaho Falls A's was a team that I can't say we were the best of friends.
Yes. Well, actually, we did actually win that league. And I think it was Lethbridge who we beat out in the last 2 days of the season. Let me ask you now, you probably can't tell by looking at me on the screen here, but I'm 6'6", almost 6'7". In those days, I was a relief pitcher, and I know I pitched against you because I pitched a lot for that team. I wonder if you remember a 6'7" blonde pitcher out of the University of Nevada pitching for Idaho Falls against you. Do you have any?
Were you a lefty or righty?
I was a right-hander.
Right-hander. I do remember an imposing figure pitching against us that had that blonde hair. Yeah, that. Now that you mentioned that, absolutely. You're a big guy. I think you throw pretty decently. I think you threw pretty hard. But now that you mentioned the dynamics of yourself, Yeah, that does ring a bell, especially the blonde hair. That's what I remember. And the big guy on the mound. Yes, I
Right.
do recall that.
Right. Well, that's gosh darn. I mean, we're bringing back some great memories, and
Absolutely.
I wish I could have faced you at Dodger Stadium or the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. But you'd mentioned growing up, and boy, I was an Oakland A's and Oakland Raiders fanatic as a kid. I grew up in the Bay Area, and my dad would take me to every A's game, all those playoff and World Series games, and I was absolutely loved the Raiders. George Blanda, Darryl LaMonica, Ken Stabler, the
Oh,
great
wow.
King calling the plays, going, Branch, spot left.
Wow. That was amazing
Stabler
years.
calling the
Yeah.
signals. The Raiders, 2
Snake.
yards from the promised land. Oh my God. And I'm going to have to send you, I've written 2 histories, a history of the Oakland A's and a history of the Oakland Raiders.
Really?
So, yes. These are 2 teams that are embedded and ingrained in both of our lives. So we've got a lot in common, my friend.
Well, I would love to, receive that. And also, too, I would love to talk to you maybe off camera, off screen about writing a book, because I have been encouraged by several people. Reg, you should write a book. You got a story to tell. And I've come up with a title. And the title that I'm thinking of right now is called Living the Dream, My Life in the World of Baseball. Because I've been in baseball since college. You're talking this is probably my 37th year in the game of baseball as a coach, as a player, even as an executive, because I was an executive with the Memphis Redbirds of the Pacific Coast League downtown at AutoZone Park. I was the vice president of community relations. I did radio and television broadcasting for them, as well as being a community icon for that organization. And not only that, but I've gone through a couple of other interesting phases of my life. I'll share this with you. I'm actually a recent survivor of prostate cancer. I was diagnosed back in November. Surprisingly, I did not have the faintest idea that something like this would come about in my life.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I was able to get in to see a urologist and have my prostate removed. And it was in time enough so that I could fulfill some of my duties in spring training this year with the Cincinnati Reds. And that was one of my concerns, that I would not be able to make spring training. And I know the value of being in spring training, especially coming in, not as a new guy, but as a returning guy, but still with some new young players. And here at the AA level, we have a lot of prospects here for the Cincinnati Reds. And I knew the essence because myself, I went up to Los Angeles from AA. I was in AA San Antonio in the Texas League. And that's where I was called up from the AA level. So I know how important the level of AA is. That was during the era of Al Campanis. I'm sure that name may ring a bell. But I went to Los Angeles. Yeah. So I went to Los Angeles from AA. And so fortunately, I'm still in the healing process as it relates to prostate cancer. There are some ramifications when you remove your prostate that you have to deal with as a male. And fortunately, the healing is coming along well. The Reds were very gracious and kind and understanding and allowed me to go to spring training, perform spring training, but they had me to, be very conscientious and cautious about the duties that I had. So I really want to say thank you to Jeremy and the Reds organization for their just their kindness and understanding of me coming through prostate cancer and the surgery, prostatectomy, if you might, that I had to endure. So it was just just a great opportunity, and here I am now. I'm the first base coach, and I also teach base running and outfield play with the Chattanooga Lookouts.
Well, our prayers are out to you for sure, and I'm glad to hear that you're on the other side of that healing process. because that's a serious thing. And
it is.
People of our age, and I know you're from Memphis, and I know there's a certain diet that people have in Memphis. There's a lot of fried foods and a lot of stuff tastes good down there, but it can cause
ribs, barbecue,
chicken, barbecue. I also want to let you know, I saw you play a lot in the major leagues. I lived in Los Angeles all the years that you were playing for the Dodgers. And I went to USC for graduate school and was down there and went to lots and lots and lots of Dodgers and Angels games and USC games. I was always going to baseball games. And so I remember you very well. And those were some very interesting teams. You're absolutely right. The point you made that was a period in which speed was a big thing in baseball. Yes, if you'd been with the Cardinals, you would have been with those teams that went to the series, but you were with some very strong post-Steve Garvey teams that had Steve Sachs, Mike Marshall, who I know, the great Orel Hershiser, the magnificent Fernando Valenzuela, Tommy Lasorda. Holy cow, the division champions in '85, the loss to St. Louis. I can't believe
Tell me about it.
And Ozzie Smith hitting the homer. How did Ozzie Smith turn on that pitch? But why don't you talk a little bit?
I have the faintest idea. I was very fortunate and blessed to be able to play with some of the game's greats. You mentioned Orel Hershiser. Mike Socia was on that team. Bill Madlock was on that team. Enos Cabell was on that team. Pedro Guerrero, Steve Sachs, Fernando. Fernando and I were really good teammates. He and I had a really good relationship. I really enjoyed playing with him and keeping an eye on him because he was a prankster. You have to keep an eye on Fernando. He loved playing jokes in the clubhouse. He would walk around with a lasso. And if you didn't see him or watch him, he would throw the lasso around you and kind of corral you in with the rope. So he was he was a prankster, a guy that liked to play tricks, but really, really good guy. I was very saddened to hear about his passing away here of late recently. And again, just playing with such great people. Dusty Baker, he took me up under his wings as a rookie in spring training, allowed me to stay at his condo for just a few days until I could find a place to live. Him and Dave Stewart, we used to call Smoke. He was another teammate on that particular team. It was just a great experience for me to be able to play with those kinds of guys and have that kind of memory as a ball player. I can remember so very vividly Rachel Robinson wheeling in Roy Campanellis into the dining room at Dodger Town. Don Newcomb coming in, talking, Maury Wills, who would teach us about base running and so forth. And as you mentioned, Tommy Lasorda, the ambassador, not only for the Dodgers, but a great ambassador for the game of baseball, and the quintessential broadcaster. And oh, wow, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Yes, Vince Scully. Oh, what a gentleman. What a scholar. I mean, he was just a great individual, great person. And also, too, the great doctor that operated on my shoulder.
Frank Jobe.
Frank Jobe. Oh, man, Frank Jobe. I mean, he was a jewel as a physician.
And he had a lot of careers, my friend.
Yes, he did. He saved my career.
Yeah,
I can tell you that. I broke my shoulder in South America, in Cartagena, Colombia. I dove for a baseball in right field, dove into Mariano Duncan, broke my scapula. And when he saw my x-ray and saw me, the first question he asked me, he said, "Were you in a car wreck?" I said, "No, sir." I said, "Why do you ask me?" He said, "Well, your shoulder is broken very badly. I'm not sure you're going to be able to lift your left shoulder above your head again because of the severity of the accident." This was in 1983. And, thankfully, God's blessings, I made my major league debut in 1985. So 2 very short years after that injury, I was in Los Angeles making my debut. So I was so very thankful to have such a renowned, I think he was the one that came up with the Tommy John surgery, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Taking out the ligament in the elbow, putting it out of the wrist. and putting it in your elbow. So, having a physician like that to operate on you, that was such a blessing. And the one thing about that, I'll say this and I'll finish this, at least 20 to 30 years later, I saw him at a function with the Dodgers. And when I came up to him, the first question he asked me, how's your shoulder?
Wow.
And I was blown away. I'm like, oh my goodness, you remember that? He said, oh yeah, that was one of the more intense surgeries that I had to perform. And when he asked me that, I was just blown. I was humbled that he would remember such an operation. And I was so thankful that he did remember me and that injury, and just very fortunate to have him to operate on me.
Hey, Reggie, real quick, you said that Frank had said some things to you. I have to correct you. Frank would never say it like that. His voice was way too deep. He had a
yes. He had a soft voice. He was deep.
Soft, but so deep. He had great
Yes.
pipes. He should have been a DJ, or he could have sung with Barry White. You know what I mean? Just one of those
Absolutely.
guys. So low in terms of his oration and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
I'm glad that he took care of you. He did me when I was just a little kid. And I think the world is a better place because of what Frank Jobe was able to do for not only for baseball, but just for medicine.
Absolutely. He had a very distinct voice. And I want to say almost red color hair.
Yeah.
If I remember distinctly. Yeah. And a tall guy. He was tall.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was so his demeanor and his spirit was very soft and very caring and kind. I just remember him as a jewel of an individual, and so thankful that I ran across him and in my path in the game of baseball.
Well, some of the other guys that you've come across, let's go back to high school first. One of the worst days of Vincent Turner's life was when he had heard one of the assistant coaches say that you were giving up football and you were just going to focus on baseball. Talk a little bit about the difficulty of doing that and the decision and how important it ended up being for you in opening other doors that may have been otherwise closed.
Yeah, football, I was asked to play football because of my speed. I was very fast. I was a running back and also a cornerback. I really, really didn't like football, honestly speaking. Very nice photo there of Southside High School. And I'll say this sadly, that school no longer exists. The school, it's only a flat ground right now. And I was so hurt to see that they tore down my high school alma mater. They tore down that school, my middle school, the elementary school. All of that is flat ground. No memories at all of Southside High School, Longview Elementary, Longview Middle School or junior high. All of that's gone. It's such a shame that they would take those schools away and just leave no legacy behind. But as far as the football you asked about, I hated football. I would hate to go to practice. I did not like the contact. I was very fast. I eluded a lot of contact because the guys couldn't catch me. I would run through the line and just, elude linebackers and cornerbacks and what have you. As a matter of fact, my first official football game, we were playing against Hillcrest High School. I'll never forget it. I ran a 99-yard touchdown on a kickoff play. And I was so afraid. I caught the ball. I saw a hole, a gap. I busted through that gap and everything else. Everybody was looking at my numbers trying to catch me. I'll never forget that. But what happened as far as football is concerned, playing cornerback, I made a tackle with my right arm, an arm tackle of a running back, and I hurt my shoulder. And just so happened, Glenn Rogers, a legendary coach at Southside High School, he was a football coach and he was also my baseball coach. When I hurt my arm, he said, okay, Reg, that's it. No more football for you, because I was also a starting pitcher my first year in high school. I was on the varsity team as a 9th grader, starting against 12th grade guys. I was starting on that team as a pitcher, and I also played the outfield, 9th grade now. So I'm playing against 12th grade kids, 18, some of them may have been 19, but I was a starter on that team. And he told me, look, no more football for you. You're going to play baseball, and that's what we wanted you to do. And that's what I did. I started to play baseball, and the rest is history. That's how I got into baseball and out of football, because A lot of the guys, hey man, why are you quitting, man? They wanted me on the team because I was so fast. I was a good running back. But and also, I'll tell you this funny story. Tell you how much I knew about football. When I first got started as a running back, I would be running through the line, right? I would be running through the line head down, looking at the ground. And I was wondering, why the heck am I getting hit so hard? And one of the running backs said, hey, man, hold your head up and watch the holes. And after that happened, oh, man, it was like a new light had shined on me because I got sick and tired of being hit so hard because I had my head down. I didn't know, running the football, running through the holes and what have you with your head down. Yeah, you're open target. But once I put my head up, then it came so much more easier, and I was so much more harder to catch and tackle.
Reggie, you mentioned possibly writing a book. Just from what you've told me so far, you definitely have stories. Now, first of all, you mentioned Cartagena.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Loved it.
And by any chance, when you played in Cartagena, did you play with a guy named Jim Jones, who was a catcher out of Pepperdine University?
Oh, wow. That name sounds familiar. Boy, that's so long ago. I tell you what, this name Mike Brito. You remember Mike Brito?
Sure.
He was the manager of that team. Oh, you talk about hilarious. Big stogie cigars. I don't know how much baseball he knew. He knew how to draft talent, or should I say scout talent. But as a manager, oh my goodness. He was not the best manager I could have had. But Jim Jones, that name sounds familiar. Like I said, you're talking back way in the 80s.
Yeah,
and
he was a outstanding catcher at Pepperdine, Southern California. He played 9 years professionally, never reached the majors, but a guy he was in the Brewers organization. So actually, the Dodgers were in Florida, and the Brewers were in Arizona. So you might not have run across.
Yeah. I don't think so about him.
I know he played in Cartagena. That's why I asked that question.
Yeah. Cartagena was it's a very interesting city to play in. Oh my goodness. It's a party every day.
80s? Are you kidding me?
They party every day.
Oh my God.
Every day in that particular country. And the beach was beautiful. And I could say even more about the women, beautiful. And it was just a great experience for me. And that's where I broke my shoulder and came on back. They flew me back. At that time, I was a prospect for the Dodgers. Fortunately, they flew me home to Memphis to be with my parents. And then they flew me out to LA and put me up in the Beverly Hilton Hotel. Oh, man. And just told me, hey, look, whatever you want to eat, whatever, just put it on the tab. We'll take care of it. You're talking about feeling like a celebrity with my arm in a sling, living the high life in Beverly Hills, waiting for my surgery to be scheduled and so forth. You're talking about a kid from South Memphis, Tennessee, in Beverly Hills, California, living at the Beverly Hilton, a posh hotel. Whew. I was on the high hog.
Did you ever face a pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals named Danny Cox?
Did I? Is that a trick question?
Okay, he was a teammate of mine, and in my opinion, really a Hall of Fame talent. Now he had some injuries, and so didn't go as well, but his ability on the field was absolutely magnificent.
Let me tell you this story.
Okay.
I hit my first major league home run off of Danny Cox in Busch Stadium. Oh wow! I can remember so very clear.
Did he go at you the next time?
No, they took him out the game. Because
He
it was a game-winning home run for Fernando Valenzuela. Fernando was pitching that game, and when I hit the home run, it put the Dodgers in the lead to stay. And when Fernando won that game, what's so amazing about it, Steve? I actually have video footage of that home run. And it's on my phone, and I'm so thankful that I have it, and I will always keep it. But yes, I have a video of me hitting my first major league home run. My parents were in the audience. My brother was there, and it was just a I don't know, dream-like experience because I was behind in the count 1-2. I was behind in the count 1-2. He threw me a fastball, and as soon as I hit it, I knew it was gone. I said, "Oh my goodness, it's out of here." And Vince Coleman was in left field. The ball hit the wall and bounced back onto the field. And Vin Scully said, "We hope that Vince Coleman would throw that ball in because that's Reggie Williams' first major league home run." I can remember him saying that very vividly in the broadcast.
Was it 140 or was it below just a little bit, 140 on that AstroTurf there in St. Louis?
Oh my goodness. You could see the heat rising from the turf. And that's why I learned watching some of the veterans, Bill Madlock, Enos Cabell. I'm trying to think, Tito Landrum was on that team. Not Geronimo, I'm trying to think. Oh, Cedeno. I saw them putting on long johns before the game under their uniforms. And I said, I asked Enos, I said, "Man, are you crazy? It's 100+ degrees." He said, "Rookie, let me tell you something. These long johns help to insulate your body when you're on the field, when it's hot like that, and it helps to keep you cool."
Yeah.
And you talking about a lesson learned. I said, "Oh my God." But I had never seen that before, but that was something I learned playing at the major league level, that putting on long johns would help to insulate your body in the heat.
Yeah. It's little tricks of the trade, right? You would think that's
Absolutely.
what you don't want to do, but you end up doing it. Talk a little bit about Southern, your experience there. I hate to go back with this, but the high school experience, you pitched from the time you were 14. By the time you're 18, who's recruiting you, and what were some of the things that led to you end up signing there with the Jaguars?
Coach Leroy Boyd was recruiting me. One of my neighborhood friends, Greg Crenshaw, introduced me to Southern University, and he said, "Reg, you really got to come down here, man. Number one, the campus is beautiful." He said, "I'm just telling the truth." He said, "Man, they got 10-to-1 girls." And he said, "The girl you talking
didn't
about."
Hear anything else, did you? After that,
I did not.
Thing. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm talking Louisiana women. I mean, Cajun women, good cooking, a historical program. I think Lee Hines was a historical coach. Lou Brock came from there. B.B. Richards came from there. Danny Goodwin, the first player, if I'm not mistaken, to get drafted number 1 twice.
I believe in 75. Yeah,
as a catcher. He said, "Man, they got a great baseball program, and I think you will love it." So Coach Boyd invited my parents and I down there, took us around the campus, had dinner with us, lunch. And I said, "Okay, sure." He's going to give me a full scholarship. And I said, "Wow, okay, well, I'll take it." So I had a full scholarship. My parents didn't have to pay anything. So that was a financial relief for my parents. And when I went to Southern, I was drafted as a pitcher. I had a good arm. The only thing is I couldn't throw strikes. And my first year at Southern, I didn't make the team. And when I found out, I have to be very candid with you, I stayed in Jones Hall, which was on the back of campus. I went to my room and I cried like a baby. I think that was the first time that I really, really experienced failure. And I guess you could call it rejection. Mm-hmm. I cried like a baby. However, in spite of that, I still got my education. I made straight A's my spring semester because I wasn't on the team. And I made the dean's list. And the next fall, we were at practice one day. And we were having practice. And I mean, Coach Boyd ran a military-like practice. Trust me. He prepared me to play at the major league level. Leroy Boyd. There was one practice we had, and somebody didn't go to right field. He said, Coach Boyd said, "Hey, I need a right fielder." And when I heard that, I ran out there. I just took off and ran. So I threw a couple of balls during infield to, the bases, to second base, to third base, to home plate. Good throws. Then he had us to run, because before then I was just working with the pitchers, doing pitching routines and pitching practices and pitchers fielding practice, PFPs as they call them. But this time he had me running the bases. The team was running the bases. He saw me running. He said, "Hey, man, you stay in the outfield." You're not going to pitch anymore. You're going to stay in the outfield. And I could hit. So from there, I became an outfielder. After being recruited as a pitcher, I became an outfielder, and then the rest is history. I think we won 3 SWAC championships while I was there. And what's so hurtful, my last year at Southern as an outfielder, we played Jackson State. Walter Payton's brother and Coach Brady. Coach Brady is a legendary coach in the SWAC. Yes.
Eddie Payton? Yeah.
Yeah, Eddie Payton, yes.
Yeah.
Eddie Payton was the home plate umpire. Okay, now look, Jackson State had Dave Clark, who's still in baseball.
They had Curtis Ford at second base.
Curtis Ford at second base, that's right. They had All-Can Boyd as a pitcher. They had a really good team. And do you know that it was somebody else on there, McNutt, something? I think his name was McNutt. He was the first baseman. He also was drafted. I mean, they had at least 4 or 5 guys drafted into Major League Baseball on that Jackson State team. Well, do you know Eddie Payton would not call a strike for our team? We ended up losing 10-9. That was the first year that the SWAC conference would be eligible to go to the NCAA playoffs, my senior year. And I was so hurt that we called it cheating. They cheated. They cheated us. As a matter of fact, our head coach, Leroy Boyd, got thrown out, I want to say, in about the second inning because he was just so upset that the umpire was just so obviously not calling balls and strikes accordingly. He got thrown out of the game. We ended up losing the game. I believe it was 10-9 to Jackson State. Again, they had a really, really good team. You're talking All-Can Boyd. You're talking Dave Clark. You're talking Ford at second base, Larry McNutt at first base. All of those guys were drafted into the major league, to the major professional baseball, and we lost 10-9 to them because, unfortunately, Eddie Payton was a little biased in his umpiring.
Well, I played with Curtis Ford in the Cardinals organization.
That's correct.
85 playoffs, when you were with the Dodgers, Curtis Ford and Danny Cox were both with the Cardinals.
That's right.
I think Curtis was I don't think he was a starter, but Danny was a mainstay of their pitching staff.
I think he won Rookie of the Year.
He was an outstanding pitcher. I mean, he truly a great pitcher. He had size. He was smart. He threw pretty hard, but he had a slider, and he had an outstanding changeup. He was a tough guy. If you hit a home run off of Danny, you really, especially on a 1-2 count, you really were doing something. And let me tell you, I can tell you right now, you're lucky that he took him out before you faced him because he was going to drill you or knock you down the second time. He was a true competitor out of Harper from your neck of the woods, a school you've mentioned, Troy State University in Alabama. First team All-American at Troy State. Kind of a late bloomer who didn't get the scholarship to Alabama or those schools, but went to Troy State and a really great pitcher.
Right, exactly. And I'll tell you one other Hall of Famer I can say that I have in my book, thankfully, and I'm not going to brag about it, but I do have a hit off of him, Nolan Ryan. I got a base hit off of him the first time I faced him. And I'll tell you this story. I wasn't expected to play because at that time in baseball, they did a lot of platooning, which is matching up right-handed pitcher, left-handed hitter, Kenny Landreau. So in this instance, Landreau was going to be playing and Mike Marshall was in right. Well, back during the day, Mike Marshall was notorious for missing certain games against certain pitchers. Dwight Gooden. Mike Scott with the Astros. Nolan Ryan. I'm not trying to remember who was he with at the time.
Houston.
He was with Houston. That's correct. On those games, Mike Marshall would come up mysteriously with a back injury.
Yeah.
So we were playing the Astros in the Astrodome, and so I'm thinking I'm not going to be playing because, he's right-handed. I'm a right-handed hitter, so I'm not playing. I go look at the lineup, and I'm hitting second behind sacks. I'm like, oh, my God. I had to run back up to the clubhouse, get my cleats because I had on turf shoes, and I was going to, bring the cleats down a little later, and put on my cup, put on my game face, and get prepared mentally to play against Nolan Ryan. At that time, he's throwing 100 plus. So I get up to the plate. I want to say it was Dutch Renner behind home plate.
Yeah.
So Nolan throws the first pitch to me. And I'll tell you this, Steve, I still have not seen that pitch cross the plate.
You heard it.
I heard it 100%. It hit the mitt. It made a ringing ear in my sound. I stepped out. I kicked a little dirt, had my head down respectfully, and I said, Blue, did you see that pitch? He said, no, but it's a strike. Get back in the box.
Hey,
I said, yes, sir.
Did you ever face Tom Seaver?
I did not. Okay. But
in a comparison.
Look, Mike Scott.
Yeah.
I faced Mike Scott, nasty, even though he did scratch up the baseball a little bit on the side.
Yeah.
Dwight Gooden, nasty curveball, ball falls off the table.
Mm-hmm.
But some of those guys that I faced, but I got a base hit off of Nolan Ryan. When I get to first base, and they recorded up on the scoreboard, hey, rookie gets base hit off Nolan Ryan, right? I was so afraid. I did not look at Nolan Ryan on the mat. At first base, I didn't look at him. I had my head down. I said, I'm not going to look at this guy. Because, Nolan was notorious for grunting when he pitched. He would make that kind of sound, and it was intimidating. And the mound and the Astrodome was notoriously high, and it was pitcher friendly, and it's like he's throwing downhill at you.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, when he threw the ball, like I said, I never saw the pitch. So I'm in his book because he went on to strike me out a couple of times, but I did get a hit off of him. So, hey, I say I'm in his book and he's in my book. So I can say I got a hit off of Nolan Ryan, the all-time strikeout leader. So, hey, that was a fortunate opportunity for me and an occasion for me that I'll never forget, hitting off of Nolan Ryan.
No kidding. Wow, that's awesome. Now, Carlton, was he still pitching when you were in the 85 Dodgers?
Yes, he was. That was with the Phillies, if I'm not mistaken.
Of course, yes.
He was with the Phillies. That's when they had Greg Luzinski, Von Hayes, Mike Schmidt.
Yes, Mike Schmidt.
Mike Schmidt was still there, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, man, you're talking about playing in Philadelphia. And Philadelphia fans, they're not very, very good. They're tough fans. And I had a chance. I was with the Cleveland Indians for a little while also, playing with Joe Carter, great guy, great baseball guy. Julio Franco. I was playing with Brooke Jacoby at third base. We had Mel Hall, Corey Snyder, Greg Swindell was one of our pitchers. So I played with some really good talent. We just didn't have pitching at that time. Swindell, I think, was the ace. But I was able to play, with the Cleveland. Oh, Terry Francona was on that team, who is now the current manager of the Cincinnati Reds. Baseball is such a small fraternity, a small world. But Tito was on that team when I was in Cleveland. So I've had some really fortunate opportunities to play with some really greats of Major League Baseball and play against some greats, as well. I mean, you're talking Tony Gwynn. Out in San Diego, just a marvel of a hitter. Andre Dawson, the Hawk, up in Chicago with the Cubs. Ryan Sandberg, Sean Dunston. Playing against some really, really just fantastic baseball players in my career. And so, like I said, I've been blessed to have played against some of the greats and playing even with Dusty Baker, legendary manager and player. I mean, he was with the Fabulous Three, the 30-30, hit the first team, I believe, had 3 players hit 30 home runs on their roster.
I got to know Dusty when he was the manager of the Giants, and I was a columnist with the San Francisco Examiner. He was a true gentleman. He used to ask questions of the writers. He was an inquisitive person. And I just love that about him.
Dusty's a great baseball man, great baseball person.
No question.
But look, I saw the bus drive up here. It's 12:38 here, and I do want to kind of start preparing to go get on the bus because, like I said, we have a doubleheader, and I work first base, and unfortunately, we're on the third base side of the field. That means I have to run around 14 times unless there's extra inning from third base to first base. And a guy of my, I'm not going to say, but anyway, I've been around the game a long time. Let's just say that. Okay. And I'm probably one of the oldest first base coaches in this league from what I've seen. Rod Barak, what's his name? Rod, he's a coach for the Angels here. Rod, is it Barajas?
That sounds about right. Former Arizona Diamondback, I think.
Diamondbacks, that's correct. Yeah, he's the first base coach. He's probably the closest to my age that I've seen in this particular league. So trust me, 14 innings running around first base, running around home plate to first base in the heat. Trust me, when I get home at night, my legs are tired. So that's what I want to get prepared for, get myself mentally prepared to get ready to go and coach first base.
From my end, I asked you all the questions that I planned to, and then some that were developed from what you told me. I really appreciate having you on, and we can talk anytime you'd like about blogging and writing books and talking about your career and putting pen to paper.
I would love that. I would love that because, like I said, I've been procrastinating about it, but I've had several people say, man, you really need to do it. Like I said, you've got a story to tell and you used to tell your story. I mean, coming out of cancer and coming across, being fired from Alcorn State and so forth and so on. And, just overcoming some of the things because I have to say this too. I had cataract surgery in my eye. It got a little blurred, and my doctor said, well, let's go ahead on and do some surgery on your eye. So I had that done, and I can see just as great as I could when I was younger now. So I've overcome by God's grace, not me, by his grace. I've been able to overcome some obstacles in life, and thankfully the Reds gave me an opportunity to coach. And like I said, we're in first place, and hopefully the kids understand the magnitude of what we're trying to do so we can guarantee a playoff spot in September. And I would love to have that kind of experience because in my career in baseball, I have experienced 7 championships. The only one I'm missing is a world championship team. I have 4 championship rings. The only one I'm missing is a World Series championship. So who knows? Maybe that's in the destiny here in the near future.
No kidding. Well, we look forward to hearing more about that. And we'd love to have you back on to finish up with you, Reggie. I know that you have a bus to catch, literally and figuratively, for the Lookouts, and thank you for all the work that you were able to do with us today, and for the Chattanooga Outlookers, right?
Lookouts.
I'm sorry, you're right.
That's okay. It's okay. We're out looking too. We're out looking for some good players.
And amongst all the other things, Major League Baseball and every level that you've been a part of. So we appreciate it. Let's finish the show today by thanking Reggie for being with us and being a part of today's show. Special guests that we have on Take 5 with Steven Travers. We were able to book this at the last minute, and we greatly appreciate, Reggie, for your time. So what I want to say is thank you to Logan Landers, to Steven Travers, and everybody that was watching here today. We appreciate you being a part of today's show. This has been Take 5 with Steven Travers. Have a fantastic rest of your day.